Alright guys, we're back staring at my engine bay, and in this video I wanted to talk about my DOCRace Turbo Kit. So at the time of me filming this, I have had this kit on the car for a year, and it has been awesome. I really love the kit, and I've put about 6,000 miles on it, so I know a lot of you probably don't consider that like a really long-term review, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of information on my feelings about the kit, and just kind of what my thoughts are now that I've had some time with it. And so, I thought a cool way to do that would be to hop on the trend, and we'll do the 5 things I love and 5 things I hate about my DOCRace B58. Now, of course, I don't actually hate the kit. Hate is a very strong word, but that's just kind of how the trend goes. But if you wanted to be a little more accurate, of course, there are things that I dislike about the kit, and there are a lot of things that I know you guys don't like about the kit as well, or you just have maybe some questions and concerns about it. So I kind of want to address everything in this video so that way you guys can maybe get a little bit better understanding of what you'd be signing up for if you got this. And then, of course, if you guys have any other questions or comments, you can leave that down below and we can keep the conversation going. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. Now, keep in mind at this point, I have made multiple videos on this kit already. I, of course, posted the DIY when I installed it last year. I posted some initial impressions on the kit. I posted some data when I was testing it on an off-the-shelf map. I've posted dynos with the TU pump, a Dorch Stage 1 and a Dorch Stage 2 pump. I've posted multiple driving videos so you guys can hear what the car sounds like when I'm driving around. But one thing that I've learned is no matter what I post or how many times I post, it's not enough. You guys want to see more. So I will make more videos on the Turbo Kit in the future. Just let me know down below what else you guys want to see or hear, and I'll definitely push out more content. So I really have no problem admitting that the biggest reason why I got this kit, and probably the thing that I love the most about it, is just how it looks. And I've had front wheel drive cars in the past, I've had all wheel drive cars in the past, but this is my first time having a rear wheel drive car with like a longitudinally mounted engine. And looking at older BMWs with like N54s and stuff like that, or even just the two JZs and the Supra, you kind of get that top mount look that a lot of us crave, and we just know that it looks great. And so when this came out, I was really excited to see that, and that was something that I really wanted to jump on board with just to get that look, So I definitely was excited to get it myself and install it, and I just love looking at it. So that's why we're always staring at my engine bay, because this is basically my favorite view now. So yeah, I mean, it looks great. Definitely the best looking kit, I would say, for the Gen 1 B58. I know other top mounts will be coming out in the future now, but at the time that that one came out, it was the only one available. So definitely a leader in the pack in that category. Now, on the other hand, one of the downsides or things you might not like about the kit is also how it looks. And that's really for two different reasons. One is if you have to deal with emissions, and thankfully I don't have to where I live. But if you need something that goes under the radar, or you just want like more of a sleeper setup, this definitely isn't the one for you. And then also something that I do actually have to deal with is that everybody that looks at my car just assumes it has 1,000 horsepower, no matter what. Even like back when I had my TU pump and I was testing maxing it out, or I think there was a while where I was getting tuned on 93 octane and people were asking me about the car, and when I told them it was in the 500s, they either were completely disappointed and just walked away shaking their heads, or they thought I was lying and trying to be slick to get like easy races and things like that. I don't race for money. My car is a manual transmission. Like, I'm just here having fun and trying to hear some cool sounds. But people were sure that I was like trying to sneak in and just cheat my way around getting some easy races and stuff. So no, I don't care that much. I have no reason to lie about my setup, but none of that matters. If they see something like this and your statement doesn't start with "it makes 1,000 and blah blah blah," they don't want to hear it. There's no reason why it should look like this if it's not making 4-digit horsepower. So that was a little bit frustrating, but I've gotten over it. I like the kit because I like it, and I set it up the way I did because that's how much power I want to make. So more power will be coming in the future, don't worry, but for now, it's definitely not what people expect when they look at it initially. Now, even though my car doesn't make 1,000 horsepower, another thing that I do love about it is that it's capable of that with this setup. So all I need to do is basically swap to a different EFR turbo. The downpipe will bolt up, the charge pipe, manifold, everything will line up, and it will just be able to make way more power with a bigger turbo. So I really picked this kit also because I knew it kind of future-proofed my setup. If I had picked a hybrid and I wanted to make more power past a certain point, I know I'd basically be taking that off and trying to put another aftermarket turbo kit on. So just kind of to be one and done with this, I went ahead and got the top mount kit the first go around, and it's something that I can really grow into without too much hassle. Now the big downside with that is big power comes at a big cost. And I know all of you have seen the price of this kit. It is pretty much the most expensive Gen 1 B58 kit, at least when I got it. Maybe some others have pushed it out now, but that was a big turnoff for a lot of people, you know, and if you don't have the budget for it, I 100% understand. I know a lot of you look at me and think that I got a full sponsorship and basically just got a free turbo kit. That's absolutely not the case. You know, I did spend some of my own money to get this kit as well. And I just respect the fact that it is expensive and that's not what everybody wants to spend, especially for how much power I'm making. Obviously, if you want to get in the 600s, there are plenty of cheaper turbo options that will get you there. So for me, I mean, I understand the pricing is a big downside, and also me spending that much money and not spending the little bit extra for a bigger turbo that has more power capacity is a big regret on my end. So I mentioned that in one of my other videos. I definitely recommend getting at least like an 8474 or 9174 if you're getting it this kit, because the 8374 that I have just runs out of power way too soon. It doesn't really make as much sense at that point to get such a small turbo. Now the third thing that I love about the kit is the sound, and it sounds really good. Obviously with the open intake right at the front of the engine, you can hear all the turbo noises. Also with the manifold being like kind of unequal length, it gives the car a little bit of a rumble when you're just driving around town. So the sound definitely changes a lot more than I expected coming from the stock turbo. It's deeper, it's throatier, and of course the turbo is much, much louder. Now personally, I'm a bigger fan of exhaust noise over intake noise, but for some reason when it comes to a big turbo, that kind of dramatic build of boost and everything that comes with it just makes it so much more satisfying. So for me, this is kind of the perfect mix of induction noise and exhaust noise. Now, a third thing that I don't like is I was getting some noises from places that I actually didn't want to hear those noises coming from. And that's because I had an exhaust leak issue. And I'll go more in detail with this in another video, but just keep in mind that since this isn't like a stock turbo where the manifold and everything is integrated together, you've got several gaskets and several points where things can loosen up and cause exhaust leaks. And I was actually facing an exhaust leak issue for a lot of last summer that I didn't know. That was causing my wastegate duty cycle to go really high. It was causing whistling noises. If you guys saw my video where I replaced the belt tensioner on my car, it actually ended up being an exhaust leak that was causing the squeaking noise I was hearing. I thought it was the tensioner, so that's why I replaced it and made that DIY. But yeah, just there were a lot of growing pains with the turbo kit because I didn't properly torque some of the nuts and things like that. So I definitely think that is a downside and something that just needs a little more attention if you're installing the car, to make sure all of the bolts stay tight and nothing loosens up, because those exhaust leaks can come at any time. Now, the fourth thing that I love about this turbo kit is just how easy it is to work on. And even right here, you can see like all of the bolts and everything for the charge pipe are easily accessible. The down pipe is easy to access. Even the turbo, I can access all of the bolts from the front of the car, and I can do most everything without jacking the car up in the air. So it's just really nice to be able to have that kind of access to everything on here. And when I do decide to swap out the turbo, I can basically take off the 4 bolts and the 4 lines and just swap it out. So yeah, it's just really cool, and that's a part of the reason why I wanted it, because in case I was facing any issues or had any problems, it would be pretty easy to work on. Now, the fourth thing that I don't like is that there is one part that is not easy to access, and that is this intake filter. Now, of course, at some point I'm going to need to replace it or at least clean it. And so I definitely understand why some people just run like a turbo guard or a mesh over the turbo, because this is not something that you can just remove really simply. you do actually need to loosen up the turbo and lift it up a little bit so that you're able to pull that intake filter off. So out of everything being so easy to access, the one thing that is typically the easiest to access is actually really difficult and takes a lot more effort on this turbo. I also know, just from a general standpoint, people always comment on the size of the filter. I haven't really had any issues with it. If I do upgrade the turbo, I might switch to a turbo guard again, just to help give me more capacity for more boost and things like that. But I'm able to hit almost 30 PSI with this filter on without an issue. So, you know, I haven't really found it to be a choking point yet. We'll see in the future as I keep pushing it if that changes. Now, the last thing that we'll talk about, and one of the main things I harped on when I got this kit, is the electronic wastegate. And having this integration is something that I really, really love. I've had cars with external wastegates in the past and it works fine, but just the drivability and ease of tuning when it comes to having the electronic wastegate tied into this turbo is so much better for me and my goals. It made everything flow really smoothly. All of the OEM safeties are in place. You know, if I have any misfires or any kind of issues, it can cut boost and put the car into limp mode so that I can safely drive the car home. You know, it just gives me a higher level of comfort knowing that I have that kind of integration with this turbo kit. Now, the downside with the electronic wastegate is that you do have to get everything lined up properly. And I made my calibration DIY last year after taking my turbo on and off probably 6 times while I was fixing the exhaust leaks and other things that I was chasing, just because I couldn't stop messing with my car. And after messing with it over and over and over again, I actually ran into some issues with the electronic wastegate. So getting that calibration and everything locked down is what motivated me to make that DIY so that it would be easier for you guys. But that is something that's a challenge, whereas with an external wastegate or even just any other regular pneumatic wastegate, you don't really have to worry about that calibration process. Now, the good news is that did used to have the limitation where it would be harder to switch between like a daily map and a kill map. But now that we have map switching on all of the platforms, that's really not a concern anymore. So thankfully, you don't have to worry about having like an external controller with, you know, different map settings that you can turn the boost up and down on the fly. Now you can have the actual map switching built into your steering wheel controls and completely adjust fuel, timing, boost, and everything with those different map slots. So yeah, I think that about sums it up. Again, there are a lot of different things about this kit that I enjoy. So if you guys have any other questions or want any other details about the kit, why I recommend it, or anything like that, leave them down below. Again, thank you guys to everybody that has bought a kit and mentioned my name. You know, that really does help me out for future projects and videos. And yeah, I hope this video gave you guys the information you were looking for. So thanks for watching. I hope this video helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.